Monty.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dissonant Waves, episode 122. My name is Dominic, whatever you want to say. Trix and Ritz are here as well.
Yeah.
And let's not forget our newest member, Trix's cat Monty.
Yes, Monte Cristo. He might pop up meowing in the background.
It's
It's what this
2023.
podcast has been missing.
Yes, absolutely. We need more animal sounds, more pet sounds, if you will.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've only got Dominic sounds.
I kind of liked it.
we got a new sample board. We got new mic for Trix. We got some
Yeah.
animals going on.
And soon I will have a Dissonant Waves tattoo.
Yes, and there's still Dissonant Wave merch to buy as well.
Oh, yes.
And I will
Meanwhile,
say, it's
then-
not just a sample board; it is also a drum machine. So we got,
Yes.
the beautiful beats as I go.
I kind of liked it.
One
I
myself.
kind of liked it. I kind of liked it.
So it's going to be a great year this year.
Oh, yeah.
Our own live intros and outros.
Dude, stop.
Bop.
We have a bunch of sounds in here. I haven't gone through all of them, and I feel like I just want to go through this before we start, just so that everybody can get kind of used to this shitty meme that I've done this year. So I bought over the break. I bought a couple cool vocals. I bought a beats, a bass, and a sample. A bit of a waste of money on my side personally, because I'm probably never going to make my money back on this. But it's also not a waste of money because I can do samples such as the
I kind of liked it.
on this machine. But I also have some other ones on here. Like I have. That's a bit soft, so let me just play that a bit higher. I do need to adjust the volume on these. If you could hear that, that is Trix going queer. What else do I have on here? I can't list all of them on the top of my head, so I have to kind of say them. That's Dominic going right. That's Dominic going. It's very hard to hear, unfortunately. This one is just him agreeing with all of this. Oh, there we go. This is Trix singing. It's hard to hear. It's hard to hear. I had to adjust the volume and all of this, but it's basically the sample allows me to put in my own sample packs, and it's just a bunch of webs. So by the end of the year, I'm basically going to deep fake either one of Dominic or Trix. It's gonna be beautiful.
Oh, that's
Let's
great.
see. The episode that we introduced the soundboard originally was episode 20 something. It's gonna be
Yeah, that sound pad that I was gonna use for the rest of the time. Yeah, use it for 2 episodes.
Now we actually have a sound pad, so.
I do have.
it was 33. The Ween episode when we did the mollusk.
I do have some non-vocal sounds on here as well. I'm pretty sure this one's not a vocal sound. Yes, that is Trix's guitar right there.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Meanwhile, we do have some albums and EPs to cover.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, we covered music on this.
Yeah, we do cover music on this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because it's
a
our
music
first episode of the year, we all came back with some strong showings, some, complicated, complex requests for listening, of course. Ritz
Yes.
came up with 3 different artists from the Aux Music Discord. Aux Music Discord.
I don't.
Aux Music
I was
Discord.
gonna say, how did you mispronounce that one?
I was looking at Cameron X and went Aux. Yes, Cameron X, Paper Thin, and Morgues. 3 artists from a Discord server that Ritz and I are a part of. Trix, I don't know if you are as well.
I don't think I am.
Okay. At some point you may have
Yeah,
or will be.
I should probably join.
Yes. I have chosen the debut albums by Radiohead and Muse, Pablo Honey, and Showbiz. There is, it's supposed to be a large comparison I'd like to make between the 2 artists at some point and kind of go through their albums one by one. We'll see if that ever happens for sure, but something I'd like to return to here and there. Meanwhile, then, Trix has decided to give us the Undertale soundtrack by Toby Fox.
Yes.
And just so we can be clear, the rest of the other 3 artists that I mentioned, Cameron X, Paper Thin, and Morgues. Cameron X has 2 EPs, Broken Sounds Volume 1 and Broken Sounds Volume 2. Paper Thin has the Paper Thin EP, the Living With, Being Without EP, the Wood Driver Sessions, which we weren't, we could cover or not, and a couple singles like Malleable. And then Morgues has just 3 singles, Animalistic, 2006, and Outer Space.
Well, where do we want to start?
That's a good question.
Well,
Trix, what do you think?
I was gonna say, let's make Trix think.
Well, I'm
Your time to
sober.
shine.
I am sober. I'm just sipping boba. But honestly, I say we get probably the biggest one out of the way and start with Undertale.
Okay, yeah. So kind of like continuing where we left off last year when we compared, or I compared, kind of Rush and La Via Strangiato to Megalovania. Here we are with the soundtrack that has Megalovania on it.
Yes.
The soundtrack to Toby Fox's massive indie RPG hit Undertale, which we all
Indeed.
played somewhat for the show. I did not finish it, but I do plan on doing so.
I didn't play it again, but I did play it a long time ago back in uni.
I started it again, but I didn't finish it.
The pacifist run is harder than I thought it would be, but that's not surprising, I guess. I am trying to get through the Undyne fight, but it's hard.
I will let you know the secret if you don't know that one.
It's the one about you have to keep fleeing, and
Yes.
eventually, yeah. I can't quite pull it off yet, but I will get there.
Yeah, it's very much memorization, muscle memory.
Yeah. I just have trouble with dodging sometimes still.
Oh yeah.
But you know, that is what it is. I want to do this run. I want to do a couple different runs. I want to get to the part where Megalovania actually plays in the game.
Yeah, that's a real hard one because it's the hardest fight in the game, and you have to do the genocide run to get to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't that the complete opposite of the
Yeah.
pacifist?
But genocide run also cannot be your first run because you won't get the true ending that way.
Yes.
So I wanted to get the true ending.
They really made it complicated to get the endings in that game, didn't they?
Oh yeah. But this is Toby Fox we're talking about, so it's acceptable.
Anyway, this is an hour and a half long soundtrack. A lot of it's, bits and bloops, 35 seconds here, a minute there. But of course, this soundtrack has been accompanied by this game that has been everywhere now. It's in Smash Brothers. It was Megalovania was played for the fucking Pope, for Jesus Christ. So I mean, you're breaking up there. What's that?
Thank you, Matt Pat.
Yes. It's songs have been in Groove Coaster, Jesus Christ. But yeah, this is one of the great game soundtracks. It really fits in with a lot of the classics that it clearly is inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
When I put it into that whole great game soundtrack, so just like when we kind of like look at this out, looking at this as an album, and going it into the realm of chiptune, I tried listening to this, trying to remember all the stuff that happened in the game and stuff, and then I tried listening to it just as an album. And very much so, this is a great soundtrack.
Yes.
But the music on its own is just fine for me. And this is just the honest opinion. Like, I even on its own, don't hate it. Yeah, Megalovania, despite the meme, is actually quite a bop still, so I'm not going to be that dickhead that goes, I don't like this. But realistically, where this album shines and shone, whatever, shun, I don't know, they're all words. I'm not good at English. I'm not the one with an English professor as a father. Is its usage in the game. Toby Fox did put the songs in the right position.
Yes, and the tracks are largely presented in order of what you'd experience them in.
Yes.
And I think the way Toby Fox made the game, I've read some things about Toby Fox not really liking JRPGs in their natural state and wanting to kind of make some commentary on them, and obviously he's inspired by some of them, but the large basic stereotypes, and that I don't think they appeal to a ton of Western gamers. Sometimes it always seems to be a complaint about, like, I don't like turn-based games, I don't like the slow plotting pace, things like that. And so
the Super Bowl is tomorrow.
And so he created something that was filled with jokes, that each fight seemed to have a purpose. Each thing was kind of meant to build on the last thing, right? And so I can't still quite tell how many of the encounters are random. Like, half of them seem to be, half of them don't.
The smaller monsters that you fight that aren't boss fights are mostly random.
But then you have like the doggo fights and the kind of just
those
like
are
the
like
random
mini
dudes you
bosses.
come across. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like those fights themselves are fun because it's just kind of like exploring the mechanics. And if you're doing pacifist run like I am, it's kind of like, okay, how can I talk to this enemy and spare them or whatever, and it's like just the jokes that come with that, and that extends into the soundtrack of like this random character has this theme specifically for it, or this thing you're doing has an activity that has like a bunch of different themes because it's fun. And I don't know, it's really fun the way that the soundtrack intertwines with the gameplay.
Well, that's also another reason why I'm saying like it's better as a soundtrack than it is as an album. So one thing I did notice after listening is that there are quite a lot of songs that sound quite similar to each other.
Sure.
On the soundtrack, but it's those little differences when you're actually playing it in the game, which are that a bit better for it. So it's like listening to it as an album, we go, it's like, okay, well, it could be shorter. Thanks for the fucking bird outside that decided to laugh at my comment. That was cool. Like as an actual album, I felt like it could have been shorter. There was a bit of repetitiveness on there. Which went like, okay, now I've heard that before, and I'm not so keen on hearing it again in the context of one listen.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it works in the game because in there's all these kind of little differences that happen in the game, or between the different opponents, that having like similar but different on there actually works with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like,
and like
I'd like to highlight one in particular.
Yeah.
When Nyahehe in the game, when you finally go to fight Papyrus, and then like the actual fight kicks in, and then the bass comes in on Bone Trousel. Fucking great.
Then then you go in and you date Papyrus, and then you have like the dating start, dating tense, dating fight stuff, which
sound like fucking Ace Attorney music.
And I can see kind of the argument that maybe it's a little bit much to keep doing that and build and build and build. But there's also kind of like a fun in that and seeing like, okay, this is happening because the date is presented as like a fighting sequence, except you're also trying to date correctly. And it just keeps increasing in stake and increasing in like intensity. And then, you eventually get turned down, but it is what it is.
Yes.
I'm not bitter at all.
You sound a little bitter.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Papyrus is like mostly like headcanon as Ace, so does kind of.
I've seen a lot of headcanon for Papyrus. So I don't know. I want to know what Toby Fox says.
Fair enough.
I mean, but there's jokes in the soundtrack that you can kind of gather of like what it's supposed to be, like bird that carries you over a disproportionately small gap.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what that is, and then when I come across it, it's like, oh, that's fun. I appreciate that. That joke works, even though I've pictured what it is. The joke works for what it is, and it's actually very helpful because it comes at a point where you go through like a dungeon, and it's like, oh, I just had to go over this little gap to get back to where I was. That's cool. I still feel something from that. It's like I think there's a tendency sometimes when you listen to the soundtrack that the titles or like the songs themselves can be spoiling for you and like what you're going to see or going to experience, right? And so having something that's not spoiled or like it still hits well is nice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird thing when we're covering the soundtrack to say this, but a big appeal about Undertale is that it is a very visual game. It has a lot of visual gags that happen in there. Yes. Like I think there's one thing where you literally just hide behind a lamp at the start of the game.
Conveniently shaped lamp.
Yeah,
Yes.
conveniently shaped lamp. Because remember, there's no dialogue for the audio. The dialogue is all text based.
Yeah.
Unless you count the sounds going, hey, Peter Griffin, like as as dialogue, which technically it's the sound for it, it's not the actual audio. But whilst there is still quite a lot of importance on the audio, I would probably say that Undertale more shines with its more visual gags. I know this is probably spoilers as well for anyone who hasn't played the game, but you're like 6 years late on this point, so like the whole thing with
like
the whole.
8.
I was gonna say quickly before you go on yours.
No, she was just saying it was 8 years later.
8 years later. Wow. Oh, sorry. It's a game where you have to go across every tile, but every different color does a little different thing, and only the red one's safe, and it's randomly generated. And then that one has basically no audio that helps it with that joke.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's the example of the tricks, the one that you showed me that I didn't get of was it the lesser doggo?
Yes, lesser doggo, where you keep petting lesser dog.
That's a good
and
one.
its head just keeps rising until it goes out of the frame. You keep petting it, it comes loops back around, comes down into the frame, then buries its head in the dirt.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fun. I love that. I'm sad I didn't get that. But there's a lot of gags like that that really work because they kind of play with convention and kind of play around with what you expect from an RPG. And even if it's just like a sight gag, it's still funny because
There's even like a fight that's limited to a certain day. If you go to, there's a certain section in the lava zone. I forget exactly what it's called. Fake fan, but the yeah, you know what I mean. And there's like a art class specifically at like November 10th, and if you show up at November 10th on November 10th in real life, you get a special boss fight.
oh, that's cool.
That's adorable.
Oh, that reminds me of the fucking Bates and Kaitos bullshit. Speaking of that game getting HD remaster, where your fucking cards, they're tied to real life timers. So like, if you have like a milk card, it will degrade in real time and become spoiled. Or like
That's great.
or like there's a shampoo card that if you wait exactly 2 weeks will become like a beautiful hair card or something like that. But you have to wait 2 fucking real time weeks. And then the fucking speedrun is completely halted by that one card.
That's hilarious.
We're going back onto the whole kind of like topic of Undertale here. A big thing, kind of obviously, Undertale is basically considered one of the best indie games of all time at this point. It will leave a legacy. It's not really to be disputed at this point.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about how it's really good visually, story wise, actual gameplay of it as well. And the soundtrack here is usually considered by a lot of people to be one of the best game soundtracks of all time as well. Yeah, not usually considered above like Minecraft or the ones around that. Minecraft is the one I usually see is considered the greatest game soundtrack of all time. And if I'm going to be honest, I think as an album, it's better as well. And I feel like when we're kind of reviewing this as well, we're giving it more positive when we're reviewing it as Undertale, which is again fair, and it's repeating my cycle here. But when it's talking about the actual individual tracks just as the audio, and you get this curse with chiptune. Just chiptune is doomed to be minimalistic, so you're not really talking too much in depth. You can either be really simple with chiptune, or you can kind of stray away from pure chiptune and go to different sounds, kind of like Anamanaguchi had done.
Yeah. I mean, to that point though, like if I were to compare this just solely as an album compared to everything else we listened to this week at least, like stuff like Megalovania, but also Your Best Nightmare, Death by Glamour, the highs and like the feeling I get from those is like immensely better than anything else we've had this week. Like those are just pumping tracks that just feel really good to listen to.
I disagree, but I don't mean that as a criticism to the songs. I think they're just fine. I think they're fine, sorry, but I don't think they're just as good as that for me. Maybe
that's fair.
Maybe it's because I don't like too much pure chiptune. To be fair, I think Adam Managuchi's best work is the stuff that they've done outside of the pure chiptune, so it's probably actually the case.
Like Your Best Nightmare has that great thing where it has like its theme and then it incorporates like other enemies and other themes. Basically, I would imagine it's kind of like a boss rush type of fight.
I would agree that they are the best songs of the soundtrack though.
And so like to me, this album speaks a lot of course, you know, Earthbound's a big influence. I think Yasunori Mitsuda's work is also a huge influence, like with Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. Like I had a whole post on the Discord about how the home theme sounds like one of this, like another Gildov from the Chrono Cross soundtrack. And it's not exactly the same or anything like that, but the home theme is a really interesting example of a song that is like, it's imperfect. Like it is intentionally, it seems to be intentionally like not out of tune, but it's like there's the chord progression, the note progression is like it's not on key or it's not on beat all the time.
Yeah,
like
there's a lackadaisical. It's not quite 100% there to show like, yeah, you're home, but you're not.
Or that like home is, you know, this kind of feeling, and it's lackadaisical. It's not what you want it to be, but it's there essentially.
Yes.
And I really appreciated that.
While you're
'Cause it's-
talking about intentionally out of tune, I'd just like to bring up the fact that Fallen Down, like the main theme from Undertale that you hear everywhere, is actually like in a quarter key, basically. It's like halfway between one key and another key. And that's to sort of like bring about like nostalgic feelings and make you reminisce about this sort of thing.
And that's because Fallen Down is a song that's also become used as like a liminal space TikTok kind of thing.
Yes.
Where you kind of just like look at those things where you're in some kind of like ball pit or slide Chuck E. Cheese like place that couldn't exist but does.
Old school Taco Bell.
Yeah, and like this is a song that's playing as you're like kind of exploring in these videos, and it's really cool to see kind of how imaginative
Literally
some of this
every example you two just used there does not translate to me at all.
Okay, fair enough.
There was no Chuck E. Cheese's here. Taco Bell's got like 2 in ours.
McDonald's Play Place?
Hotel lobbies and hotel hallways, how they always just kind of feel like this impermanent place, and they're just a place of like passing, and like you just exist in a hotel. Nobody lives in a hotel, you know? That's
like
kind of like
pool.
the vibe. Yes. Hotel pools at night specifically.
Yes. And it's like you jump into the pool and all of a sudden you're somewhere else.
In the backgrounds.
Yeah. And like this is a song that's used a lot of the time is for those kinds of videos. And they're fun to watch because there is something about the song that is heightened with those videos, and it is kind of off-putting and scary at times. But it doesn't sound like that necessarily in the game. It's actually kind of like heartwarming in a way when you listen to it.
Yeah. And I'd also like to throw onto that the shop theme is just chef's kiss. I fucking love the shop theme so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this perfectly like nostalgic track that just reminds me of warm memories of winter, and I can't explain it, and I just love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like kind of going back to my point about the home theme, the fact that the music box theme also has that same lackadaisical feel because in the context of the game, you turn off the lights and the music box theme plays. You turn on the lights, the regular theme plays. You know, that shows the intentionality of what Toby Fox is doing with that track and kind of how well thought out so much of this is. Even if like half the songs are jokes, like fucking what is it, Spook Tune and Spook Wave.
Yep.
Just little things you can play in somebody's house. And just like dumb little things that are just like funny for 20 seconds.
Yeah. That ambience.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to the Temmie Village in the actual game.
No, I got to I got to Thunder Snail, I got the Temmie Village. I'm just up against Undyne right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the bird. The bird comes after Undyne's theme in this one, but
yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what else happens. Anyway, yeah, there is a lot here, and I was reading that apparently the only song that went through a lot of evolution and kind of significant change was the Undertale theme itself, the title theme, like Undertale, which I would imagine is like a credits at some point. I don't know. It sounds like a credits theme.
I can't remember every single bit of it, unfortunately.
Let me listen real quick. Undertale.
It has like it's the only track that has like a guitar piece by somebody that's not Toby Fox, Stephanie McIntyre.
Oh yes, I know this fucking okay. As soon as I heard like the opening notes, I knew I know exactly where it was. The last time I got to it, I absolutely cried like a fucking bitch.
Is it a credit scene or is it in the game?
It's in the game. It's not quite a credit scene.
Okay, nice. That's cool. There's something else I wanted to say, but it's not be that important. But
to be fair,
actually,
we've got a lot to cover this week, so maybe we should wrap this one up.
The only like one of the complaints I might have, that's not a complaint necessarily, but like just to notice that like a lot of this does sound like it's Chrono Trigger, it's Mitsuda, I'm sure if you played a lot of Earthbound, you can probably feel a lot of that in here, and so I do got to give Toby credit for like transmogrifying those feelings and those tracks kind of into something new and that fits Undertale, but like he's also a disciple of those soundtracks.
Yes.
I've got to ask Trix, is your microwave on or something?
No.
There's a lot of buzzing coming from that mic.
Is there a cat?
Yeah, my cat's knocking around his food dish.
Yeah, that's it.
Let me take it away from him. I'll be right back.
Yeah, fair enough. While Strix is doing that, Dominic, you want to say your favorites and least favorites?
My favorite, Megalovania, clearly a favorite. Death by Glamour, Your Best Nightmare. Don't really have a least favorite. There's so much here, it's hard to really be like, oh yeah, that track sucks.
Yeah, I'm agreeing for basically the same reasons, and it's weird that I'm agreeing with you, but I also just didn't like the soundtrack as an album as much as you two. It seemed to. It's definitely like for least favorite. I think there still are lows listening to this as an album, mostly with how repetitive some of it can kind of get. Even though it has slight differences in an album context, that is a lot different to a soundtrack context.
Come on.
I mean, I will say, like,
And-
I do like the soundtrack a lot. It's not going to be, like, at least not at this point, like, my top 10, top 5 of all time, because that is, like, taken by, like, the Nier soundtracks and the Chrono soundtracks and things like that. This
Yeah.
is a great, one that's probably top 15, top 20, but that could change.
I think there are personally other games as well which don't have as complicated of a soundtrack. So if I had actually listened to it as an album, I would probably think is worse as an album than this. But as a soundtrack is potentially better or equal. Like Untitled Goose Game is like the big one for that. Where if you listen to the soundtrack on that, which I forgot what his name is. It's the same guy who did the Frog Detective soundtracks. It's a Melbourne producer. I forgot your name. Apologies on that. Where he's kind of where he's reworked all the classical
Dan Golding?
tracks. Dan Golding, thank you very much. To fit with the game, and to me, that's more impressive and works incredibly well in the game. That the soundtrack is literally the humor of the game at times. I feel like if you play Untitled Goose Game without the soundtrack, then you haven't really experienced it full. And that is true with Undertale still. You still need to play it with the soundtrack.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
a lot of games I don't. But I feel like personally, in my opinion, I'm probably gonna get some people saying it's the wrong answer, but I don't really give a fuck. I feel like there are some games like Untitled Goose Game where as a soundtrack it's better. But if you told me as an album, then I'd say Undertale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also worth saying before we get the tricks is favorites, least favorites. Like this whole movement of like Undertale, Homestuck, all of that, it's so intertwined with internet culture. Like I was talking about how Toby Fox gives off huge like queer furry vibes, but I don't know if that's Toby or if that's just that community latching on to this degree.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to untangle like all of it from each other, which is not a bad thing, but it's like, it's that era of like Tumblr, that era of the internet, like the late 2010s for sure.
Monty just knocked down an empty can. That's what that was. If you heard that,
Nah, it didn't come through.
he's
Tricks,
being a
what are your
little
favorites
shit
and least
right now.
favorites?
Oh, no least favorites. I'm just gonna go out and say that. Favorites. I'm going to go with Battle Against the True Hero. I'm going just reverse. Reading through this, Megalovania is good, but it's not one of my favorites. Hopes and Dreams. Fucking the Burt trucking into Asgore. I just love his theme's great. Death by Glamour. Just all the boss themes. There's no real bad song on this.
We're knowing that Megalovania is so beloved, I guess, that it was in Homestuck and it was also in Toby's Earthbound hack too.
Yes.
So like he really wanted to carry into its own soundtrack. So here we are. But yeah, cool. What else do we want to talk about?
Dominic, you choose the next one.
I would like to just bring up one more point about Undertale and why I chose it. It's because I think it's been referenced in a lot of like fifth wave emo acts. And like, hey, I love you, psychokinetic love songs. I got so many Undertale vibes off that.
I think abstractly it is like a fourth, fifth connection kind of thing that we can definitely reference back to in the future.
And I do think the fifth wave emo scene is terminally online.
Very much so.
They are a lot of the people that were in that subculture that I was talking about. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's talk now about my grand design here of comparing Radiohead and Muse with their debut album starting with. Because I am sick and tired of people saying that Muse is a Radiohead knockoff. They never were. It's just it's a tired comparison.
I would argue that Showbiz definitely Showbiz is Pablo Honey but better in my opinion. But neither of these albums are their artists at their true like what can they do?
No, Pablo Honey is like a weird thing.
But there's a weird thing. Here's a weird difference that I always think of. When you think of the big three Radiohead albums, it's usually Kid A, In Rainbows, and OK Computer. So, sometimes you might get people say the Bends or, Amnesia and stuff.
Yeah.
But usually you get people say all three of those. But with Muse, their big three is usually Origin of Symmetry, Absolution, and then some people go and say it's Black Holes and Revelations, or the others say it's Showbiz, and I feel like there's more conflict.
Really? I've always said it was either the Resistance or like Black Holes. No one I know knows about Showbiz.
I've seen enough. I'm just talking about in the actual Muse community back. It could have changed. So now, obviously, I believe in the United States, Origin of Symmetry is considered to be their best album. I think it was their big breakout there. Whilst in UK or Australia, you're more likely to get people say either Black Holes or Absolution.
Symmetry was an album that got delayed a lot here too because they were trying to reconcile what to do with Matt Bellamy's falsetto.
And if I were to give my personal opinion as well, in my top 3 Muse albums, I put Showbiz over Origin of Symmetry. I think Origin of Symmetry's got good songs on there.
Matt Bellamy's
but I think Showbiz is a better album, and it's a bit more. They know what they're doing. And to be fair, the comparison that happens between the Radiohead and Muse here is that they have similar singing styles.
Yes and no. Yeah, I really struggle.
They both go their own ways with it. Don't get me wrong; they're still both different. And Muse, despite having the comparisons that I think are actually warranted, I don't think are a knockoff. I think they're inspired by it because obviously Radiohead and Pablo Honey came out years before the Showbiz. I think there's an inspiration. Sure. I think there's an inspiration that is worn on their sleeve, but I don't think that means they're a knockoff.
Like, to me, Pablo Honey is kind of we're a band, we've been around for a while, we want to record some of our favorite tracks that we did, here we are in the studio, let's go. There's no real attempt at like an identity outside of just what's popular. There's no attempt at like establishing themselves as a force, really. And they got Creep out of it, but that seemed to be like an accident. Everything else, well, some of it's good. A lot of it is basic. It's there. It's whatever. Showbiz, I think, has a lot of more interesting and like texture-based like compositions that I think are more unique for the time and stand out in comparison to what Pablo Honey has. However, I think Showbiz in general suffers just because Matt Bellamy oversings the fuck out of the entire album.
I don't disagree. He definitely does oversing, especially when, my personal favorite Muse album is always going to be Absolution. I think he's one of the few vocalists that when they oversing, they don't completely strain the fuck out of themselves, so at least it's fine. Yes, he is better with a bit more contrast. I don't think it's a ruin of the album.
I loved Showbiz in college. I loved it. And like I think this is interesting to see now, 10-ish years later, how much I've like come down on it because it doesn't hit the same anymore. I guess too focused on that oversinging thing. But Trix, you've not listened to either one really before. I'm curious what you think.
My hot take is that both of these albums are really mid.
Okay.
It's not that hard of a take.
Which one did you like better?
And I think I like Pablo Honey better.
Interesting. What about it?
It's a little more recognizable for me, I guess, because Creep, obviously, but I've heard some of the songs in passing because my father's a huge Radiohead fan, weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that might just be why.
Personally, I think Pablo Honey's biggest downside, but it's also its biggest draw at the time, is that it's just angsty in the way that Radiohead sucks when they're angsty. Like Radiohead's always fucking angsty. Let's not go and act like they've made happy songs for their whole career. Their last album was basically about his ex-wife dying. It's never been happy topics that he's really been
Oh, sure.
Tom York's really been talking about. But the difference is that like you go to OK Computer, which is basically having an existential crisis, and this actual big kind of like going into this whole I don't know if I can do the day to day, like I'm paranoid. Android has this kind of whole like vibe to it, or other ones which is like actually hating people who are people on there as well, like Karma Police gives off some of those vibes. Not be exactly what those songs are about, but they give those vibes here. Whilst Pablo Honey is, when you go into it lyrically, is I hate myself, feel sorry for me.
Yeah, like creep is a really good definition of that. Like, oh, I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo, I don't belong, blah 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 blah. Like, there's nothing about it that's inherently interesting. It's just meant to be like it comes off as like an anthem for people who feel weird and are outsiders, but not in a good way necessarily. Like
to think though that Radiohead could have actually gone off from that and become the biggest emo band of all time.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. But like you get to a song like "Stop Whispering," and that just really seems like a fucking thing you'd see at like a garage show when you're 16 and your high school band's there, and it's like, we got this hot new song, listen to it, and it's just that, and it's so far away from the good Radiohead that I like that it's amazing how quickly their ascent was. Like in comparison, then it's like Muse. I think Showbiz is pretty different than later Muse stuff, but it still feels the same. It's still, you can trace it a lot easier, I feel like, and you can trace Pablo Honey to the Bends to OK Computer.
There's definitely an agreement on that.
Like,
sorry, I'm just gonna message you. I'll just be AFK for 2 seconds.
Okay.
I think Blowout is like the other song on here that I thought was pretty interesting. And like anyone can play guitar. That's kind of a cool concept of like, yeah, anyone could do it. Here, you try it. Here, you try it, kind of thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there's so many songs that are about like pronouns, like you, how do you, thinking about you, prove yourself. Like, why are you so focused on this other person? Jesus, leave them alone.
Yeah. It's the anthem of the modern Republican Party. Or J.K. Rowling. Hogwarts Legacy just came out.
Oh yes, really.
I've come back at a great time.
I was making a bad pronoun joke.
The Hogwarts Legacy debate. We could go into it, but I can't be fucked.
I'm gonna buy it used. That's about all.
How do you? Thinking about you. Prove yourself.
How do I prove myself?
I'm just listing half of the titles on Pablo Honey.
No, he's asked me a question. I'm gonna answer it.
Anyone
how
can
do
play
I
guitar.
prove myself? Yeah, that's probably actually the answer. You see my guitar playing skills?
I can't.
Oh, hold on. Wait, which one is it? Beautiful.
That's my guitar playing skills.
No, it's... Hold on. I'll make it completely different.
That trailed off pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, that's just the samples ending, but this might actually be Trix's new bass sound.
Maybe. There's an acoustic floating somewhere in Utica, New York that I loaned to a friend that I'll probably never get back, and I really don't care about it, so who knows?
And then if I go to this one, and then if I put the speed up into there, and I go... No, that was a different sound. I didn't expect that one.
So
Let's hit that one again. Play it again. Sounds like a fucking cow mirroring. Fucking hell. I don't know if it's picking up, man.
It's not anymore.
It's not. Hey, Monty, you got something to say?
Oh, there we go. Is that picked up?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful fucking sound.
So I'm gonna make over to Showbiz for a sec. Yeah, these songs are oversung, but like I said, though, they do feel more interesting and more textured than what Radiohead was doing with their debut. Like Sunburn, it's a fun track. It's like the song I think of when I think of this album. Really good example of like how hard Matt sings, and like it's nice enough for what it is. Muscle
I
Museum,
think Sunburn's probably one of Muse's best tracks, to be honest.
really
Yeah, I fucking love Sunburn.
fair enough. And Muscle Museum,
I ain't gonna deny it. Yeah, Muscle Museum's also good.
but I am always perplexed by that track, and I looked up the title because it's like, why is it called that? And apparently, the theory is that it is called that because muscle and museum are the words before and after muse in a dictionary.
That's funny.
That is funny.
That's
I think I have a dictionary on the shelf. Give me a sec.
One
on
thing
the
I
other
also
hand-
want to mention about Muse albums as well, and I noticed it again with this album, because if you listen to it on Spotify, it's got 13 tracks, correct, Dominic?
Yeah, Spiral Static is the last one.
Yeah, but the album doesn't end there. It ends at Hate This and I Love You.
Yes.
And every Muse album, they've actually added the a bonus track onto there now on Spotify.
Yes, and some of them are really good. Like when we get to Black Holes, Glorious is a great track.
Yeah, but the album deserves to end at Nights of Sidonia.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a nice little coda, I guess.
Nights of Sidonia. Honestly, Muse's career could have ended at Nights of Sidonia.
I disagree. I think what the couple albums they did after that were still important enough.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that because Nights of Sidonia is like, I know it's the Guitar Hero free player in me.
Yeah.
But it is one of the greatest tracks of all time.
It hits pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Jix, have you seen the dictionary?
I have the dictionary. I'm looking through it right now.
If only I had the Jeopardy soundtrack while Trix is looking through that. Now instead all I've got is sounds like this.
I'm at music. Shit.
The thing I wanted to say though is that Unintended, it is like supposed to be like the slow, more ballad type track, and I just think him over singing really drags that track down from what it could be and makes it just so melodramatic and over the top that it sticks out now really well as just really much as just like a what I just don't want to listen to this.
It's still better than listening to the last couple Muse albums though.
In some ways maybe.
What do you want to hear Matt Bellamy do? You want to hear him over-sing a love ballad, or do you want to hear him interpolate The Beautiful People?
I guess I'll take the love ballad.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this 1961 Roget's Thesaurus and Dictionary form, closest thing I had to a dictionary, it
Fair
goes
enough.
muscle, muscular, muse.
Should have been Muscular Museum.
What's after Muse?
Music.
No, not museum. Interesting.
No, that's not the museum. Isn't it?
Well,
It'd be museum before music. It'd be museum before music.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a real dictionary. It's a thesaurus and dictionary form. Which is the closest thing I have to a dictionary outside of a medical dictionary.
Muscular would fit though after muscle because MUSCU after instead of MESCL. So Muscular Museum would still fit pretty well. But yeah, I mean, there's still tracks in here that do hit. Like Cave is a fun track. That's such a hard fucking that chorus. Like him singing in that chorus, "Come on my cave," like it. That's kind of like the stadium rock shit that I think he really excels at, and I can see that going over really well.
Yeah, it's an alright album. I really don't have too much to say about it. I just didn't captivate me too much, if I'm gonna be honest.
The one thing about both albums I do agree is similar is that both cover arts suck.
Yeah. I for a while I'd only like glanced at Pablo Honey's cover, and for some reason my memory of it was the sunflower, but it had Tom York's goofy face in the center of it instead of the kid.
It's probably a meme somewhere you saw.
Probably.
I think both cover arts are a massive product of their time. Like Showbiz is a 1999/2000 album, and that's the type of album art that you'd kind of expect. I mean, honestly, I'd probably expect this kind of like coloring and color scheme and stuff to be more on a new metal album, which I don't think any of them thankfully had.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
A Porcupine Tree album cover.
yeah, it does a little.
It reminds me of something you'd see off of like a Regurgitator album or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Regurgitator wouldn't have done that.
Maybe not them specifically, but like that style of music.
Yeah, I guess. And Pablo Honey seems like it's a massive product of the early '90s as well. Do they suck now? Yeah, there's not really much debate about that.
When you compare what Origin of Symmetry looks like, it's so much more interesting and like basic, but it just looks nicer, more stark.
I mean, I feel like also with later ones, like Absolution's album art is someone basically looking into a bunch of people getting raptured, and that is a very appropriate album art to what the theme of the album is.
Yes,
which is the whole like coming to terms with the world ending, and that was in 2004 or something. So that was always going to be the angst there. Whilst looking now, it is just a woman on the moon or something. I don't even think she's on the moon.
The Benz also kind of sucks, but OK Computer is where it starts to get better.
Okay, but the Benz has that good when you get that good suck meme.
Yeah, I was just about to make the joke. The only reason I know the Benz album cover is because it looks like he's getting his dick sucked.
I think that is our first. I think that's our first blowjob joke of the year.
It is. We need to
counter up.
Okay, I need to. This is something I'm gonna do on my own time. I gotta find 2 other album covers that look like somebody getting sucked off. I need to make a "Who's getting the best head" meme.
You gotta put that on top of the Alvin and the Chipmunks image.
Yes.
Fucking yeah.
Sure. All right. So the way I kind of want to, if we're done talking about both of these, I want to get a vote here on which album was better.
Oh, you've already got mine.
Say it again, just for the record.
Pablo Honey.
I think Showbiz. I think Showbiz is a better album than Pablo Honey.
I also think Showbiz is the better album. Now we will see how often Muse takes it in subsequent versions of this. that is the real interesting thing for me, is how long will they stay in sync with each other.
Yeah. Also,
Chicks, you reckon we can add this to the album art of your choosing then? It's not quite a person moaning, but I reckon I probably made this face once in my life.
This was the first thing that popped up on my YouTube Music.
Yeah. Teddy doesn't live here anymore.
Fucking banger.
Great song. Came like 60 in the hottest 100. Good on them.
Damn. Good for them.
I'm just looking at all the pictures. So many good covers.
Fuck, I'm just now looking to see if I can find any more with it. No, there's Banshee's V, which literally has a picture of a woman crossing her fingers and putting her tongue in like she's doing the oral sex thing. That's so far the closest I've got on all of these.
There's probably a good Bjork album cover that has that kind of vibe.
Probably.
But yeah, Showbiz is better.
Yeah. All right. Favorites for me off Pablo Honey, I'm gonna give it to, I guess, Creep, even though I don't particularly love Creep, because I mean it still stands out. And then Blowout I also quite liked. Everything else, it's kind of meh. Probably something like Stop Whispering is my least favorite.
I'm gonna do the lazy thing and agree with you for Pablo Honey.
Yeah, me too.
And then Showbiz, Sunburn's fun. Muscle Museum is fun. I like Cave. I do not like Unintended.
Unintended is definitely the least favorite. Sunburn, Muscle Museum are the best off the album, even though that's the intro. I like the closer as well. Hate This and I Love You.
Showbiz is also kind of a good track.
I'm gonna bust out the old B word on the first episode of the season. Blender for me.
Blender.
I did not take. It's a blender. I need a better I need a better sample for It's a Blender.
I kind of liked it.
Oh, well,
All right.
Rids, but what about the one I just posted in chat?
Fuck off.
What
Here
the
I
fuck
am
is
trying
that?
to find a.
It's Cook's Still Woozy.
Okay, the one on the left is the one we should use.
Oh no, I got my first bad meme of the year. Who's getting the best head? And for the man who beat the allegations. Come on, load up. This is already taking too long for the joke. There we go.
Oh yes, Rex Orange County.
He beat the allegations. We can make these jokes.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
just thought of one.
Oh god. No.
Shit.
I love how this is devolved into.
Yep. Alright, hold on.
Hold on.
Actually, I've got a great one here for tricks, and it's gonna take a bit to. I already fucked up the title of whatever.
Well, this is clearly one that is in this conversation.
Nah. Tricks. This
Nah,
one.
he's pissing on himself. It can't be.
Nah.
Yes,
This one.
yes.
Kieran J. Callanan's bravado does, I think, he is pissing on himself, but like, you could say that liquid could be anything.
It's clear, dude.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the yellow
clear.
is clear.
I don't know what your semen's like, Dominic.
Put some white tint on it. You wouldn't know the difference.
You might want to go to a doctor here, but
A different viscosity. You can tell in the image.
Fine, Photoshop it out. See if I care. Yes, Rammstein. Yes, sein Sucht.
yeah. I can't speak German, so I was going to say the title. Anyway, shall we end off this episode with 3 little artists that I picked just for the meme of picking the Oz Music Discord after 3 years?
Yeah, tell us about this
Sure.
Oz Music Discord, peoples.
Yeah, so we have a channel on there called Self Promotion, which we try to say to people, if you just hear to self promote, put it into that channel. And I've decided I'll go with 3 people who have actually talked on the Discord. One of them hasn't talked in a while, but they were quite active before they were promoting, so I'm counting that. That's with Morgues. I assume with the bit of getting the Triple J Unearthed contest win and stuff like that, they're probably actually doing stuff now, which good on them. That's more than what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But other 2 artists on there, Paper Finn, Spencer Scott has been a regular member for a while as well. Actually, he hasn't been active for a bit, but he does pop in to post any of his updates, or he posted his votes. Like, he literally came online for the first time in the year to vote, post his hottest 100 votes. And then Cameron X, he's a regular who's a film student who literally just made an album for the fucking sake of it. That's a good art there. That's a good art.
Yeah, Cameron responded to my email asking more about what's going on there. That was very nice of him to do.
Mm. Cameron's not actually his name, but yeah.
Yes.
Yes. His actual name is Hamish. I'm not going to do the full docs. But
yeah.
let's get into him to start, because he's definitely the most amateurist out of all the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, his 2 EPs, Broken Sounds Volume 1, Volume 2, they're ambient tracks, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I picked him specifically on this one as well. You might recall that I made a bunch of albums as a shitpost as well, where I literally just slowed down a bunch of sounds that I had and then made it into an ambient project. And that's basically what he's done here as well. I remember there was one song, I can't remember exactly which one, you would have it from the email, where he was talking about how he's going to make a shitpost of a Christmas song using the slowed down ones, and that's where the Mariah Carey sample comes from in here.
Underneath is the track.
Underneath, thank you very much. And that was basically a demo that he's turned into one of the tracks here. And granted, what it seems like he actually does with his EPs or albums, whatever you want to call them here, is that he's basically trying to make a soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist.
All right.
Whether or not he's done a good job of it is up for debate. But it's listening to it, that seems to be the kind of more realistic angle of what's going on here.
I have a couple quotes that might help you out with this.
Go ahead.
So he says, for me, music is a lot more of a side project, which started when I needed a soundtrack for an experimental short film I was making. I'm very interested in messing around with different programs and things to make this material, but I don't take it seriously at all. It's a hobby. So it seems that there was a short film of some sort somewhere in there that he was making a track for, and that seemed to be especially where the first one was coming from.
Well, there you go. Maybe it was a movie that did exist.
Then he's talking about Underneath, which started from Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. That demonic voice was Mariah saying you from the start of the song, whilst the lower notes are the glockenspiel from the start. It's an ode to how much I hate this song. He goes on to say, I don't even think it's accurate to call it music. It's probably closer to a collection of soundscapes. Hence why I call them broken sounds instead of broken music. Which is fair.
Which is fair enough. I mean, Broken Sounds Volume 2, I think, is actually better than the first one, because Volume 2 seems to be trying a bit more to do different types of sounds in there, whilst Volume 1 seems like just 14 minutes of the same song, basically.
Yes, I actually would agree very much with that. Volume 1 is very similar to each other. Volume 2 is more dynamic by far.
Yeah. And the fun thing about doing this as a hobby, which is what I do absolute shit takes as a hobby, and so far we've gotten you guys liking, I think, 2 projects that I've done. I think one of the EPs I did originally, you were like, yeah, that's fine. And then Trix's remix EP, or album, sorry.
Yes.
And then that's like 2 successes to like 50 failures.
Hey, the first step to being good at something is sort of sucking at it.
It's trying different things.
You tried and you failed. The lesson is never try.
Yeah,
but I was a bit more interested by Volume 2 with its different sounds in it, because it has that pure ambience, but then it has this kind of just like weirdness, like almost glitchy sounds that are going into there. And I know he probably feels a bit like, oh, I'm just sampling other music illegally here and then putting it into stuff, so it's kind of very simple. But there is a certain fun in just dicking around and finding out.
Oh yeah. And he says it's not only, it's also, you know, audiobooks, homemade dialogue recordings, and other stuff that is in those for Volume 2. So it's more than just songs necessarily. It's some of his own work. So it's kind of veering off into like the Jeff Mangum Milk style sound collage in a way.
I was gonna reference Twin Fieldworks, Orange Twin Fieldworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do, but I do like that kind of like, there is a dark ambience to both of these that I do like, and which feels kind of, I don't know, Trent Reznor inspired in a way.
Yeah, I have a random 9 Inch Nails album that was like his fucking going full on ambient on it. Which one was it? Ghost 1 to 4.
Yeah, of course. And that's the one that's like, I think those are like tracks you can get the license to very easily to use. That's how Lil Nas X got Old Town Road made, was taking one of those tracks.
I don't actually. Oh, I probably did know that and probably forgot about that.
And yeah, I mean, Trent is listed as a Grammy winner for that song.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, but the Ghost tracks are meant to be very easily licensable and stuff like that for those reasons, and that it's a sound collage. It's meant to be, you know, something like supporting or accompanying something. And I think, you know, Cameron, it's a hobby. It seems to be. It's something that he's just doing for fun. And also worth noting that, of course, Broken Sounds Volume 2 is our first listen to something made and released this year, coming out January 1st, 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still doing the 2023 releases. That's how good I am.
Yeah, you're hitting this first thing. I love it. But I do think that if he were to continue, he could definitely start doing stuff more in that vein of like giving us really interesting ambient tracks that are more and more cut up and complex as he goes. Yeah. Like there's something really interesting to the outroduction, Irem Eva, which is just Ave Maria backwards, of course. And that vocal melody is clearly like a chopped up reversed Ave Maria, which is cool and really haunting and beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of potential that could be used if he were to take it further. But
there you go, Hamish. You've gotten a good review from Dominic himself, or as we put it,
I kind of liked it.
But I mean, if you just want it to be a hobby and do your film stuff, I totally get that too.
I have one more addition to the who's getting the best head discussion. Give me a second.
Well, we could have put the camera next album out on this probably actually.
I'm just gonna. It's already in chat, so I'm gonna just reply to it.
Yes, the Cameron X Volume 2 would be very good. Oh
And,
God!
oh no!
Fuck
Oh
you!
no! Do not continue on this this chart. Yeah, oh
Fuck
no!
off!
My client had no idea what would happen after the first comment of N.
I just picked a letter at random. I didn't mean for it to be N. I just.
Now, with album art on this as well, I'm not quite sure what the second one is, but I'm pretty sure the first album art is his own eye.
Oh, that tracks. Like I was gonna say, it could be from Pulp Fiction or Strange Days or insert mid-90s film here, or it could just be his own eye.
Yeah, I think he edited his own picture, but I could be wrong. I could be incredibly wrong about that.
Volume 2, any ideas?
Nah,
Could be like
probably
some just
something.
some arcade game. Yeah.
Yeah. All your base up belong to us.
But you know, for using Audacity and Pulse Stretch and Sample Brain, and just things like that, just basic tools and programs, it's cool. I really like.
Say it, Dominic. Say it, Dominic. You started with the I, and you were about to say it. Say it, you fucker.
I think it's pretty neat.
That's not what I wanted you to say.
I think it's awesome.
Super neat.
Don't make me press the soundboard again.
Do it, Howard.
I kind of liked it.
I kind of liked it. Anyway,
this is the best toy I've ever bought.
No real favorites or least favorites with this. The outro to the second EP maybe is the highlight, but yeah, it's a solid thing. I would love to see more. And also charge for these, so I can actually have them in my Bandcamp collection.
I think there's probably some legal issues with charging for this, to be honest.
Fuck, you're right.
I feel like obviously I don't think any of them are ever going to give a fuck about this, because it's only going to get as popular as it does. But let's say the 0.0001% chance that it does. Yeah, Mariah Carey's record label would go down hard on this. That's the beauty of Bandcamp, though.
Well, charge for something, so I just have your name in my Bandcamp collection, so I have to keep searching for it.
Now, which one do we want to go on to next? You know what? Fuck it. We're going to Morgues next because they're the free songs.
Yeah.
I think this is my favorite of what you picked.
It's been a minute since we've done an artist that is only singles.
What did you say, Trix? You kind of cut out for me.
I think this might be my favorite of what you picked this week, Ritz.
Morgues is definitely, out of all of them, they are the highest produced out of all of them.
Sure.
And the dream pop, you don't usually get low production on. I know you can do lo-fi sounds, but that doesn't mean it's low production.
Yeah, these tracks are all right. I like them enough. I don't think there was a ton of differentiation between them for me.
I like Animalistic. A lot of people on the Yours Music seem to like 2006 all of them. Outer Space, I think, is the one that they've won the Unearthed contest with.
I can see that.
Yeah.
They're a band that's very young in their actual career here. I mean, the first song was in 2020, and now we're kind of continuing on seeing as they're going, and it's a very small amount that we have here. It could go on to bigger. They could break up before they're famous.
I think all three of these tracks would be fine on like an album, like the first three tracks of an album.
Yeah.
Maybe throw one in that's a little different for some dynamics, but yeah, I mean, for shoegaze, dream pop, jangle pop, indie stuff, this is it, right? This is part of that.
It is indeed that.
It do be like that.
They don't think it be like it is, but it do.
Because if you look on Spotify as well, they're not big. They got 230 monthly listeners, most amount of songs plays on a song is 16,016. But out of all three songs here, they're all pretty consistent with each other. They take a while to get released with all these. I mean, hell, we had like a 2-year gap basically between Out of Space and 2006. So, it wasn't exactly 2 years. It's like a year and a half, and now we are waiting to see do they continue on. So they're obviously taking their time with things. Whether or not all of that time is with creating, or most likely with everything else in their lives, because it's almost like if you're a musician, that's not the most stable form of income, so you're probably doing some other shit.
I believe Celeste also went through cancer treatments at some point in the middle of this.
That is definitely potentially true. I haven't read up on that or heard that.
Yeah, let me.
I can't remember which. I think it was Kath who was the one who was on the Oz music. I could be wrong about that though.
Yeah, more Celeste and Kath are the two. They are it's a duo. Yeah.
She went by the name Vietnamese Spears to reference her Vietnamese heritage, which I thought was kind of funny.
That is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Celeste went through cancer treatments, according to this article.
It's eventually there we go. Thank you very much. Well, pirates.
Monty, what the fuck do you have?
Monty, put it down.
And oh yeah, this is the thing too of Gang of Youths was helpful in getting them out there. At least what's the name? Joji Milani.
Yeah, the old guitarist of Gang of Youths.
Yeah, they are. He's a big champion of them and like on the helping produce their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Which it's definitely not a no-name producing this. I mean, granted, a lot of Australian producers will be like, "Yeah, you sound good. I'll produce," and stuff like that. So you get a lot of lesser-known bands do deals or production stuff with more well-known artists. I mean, Dune Rats and Valence Soho both have their own kind of record labels there. I mean, I know Valence Soho is more just James Tidswell. James Tidswell, it was one of them. Maybe it was one of them had the Domestic Lala, and then Dune Rats has Ratbag Records, and those were signing much lesser known artists on there as well. And by the time that some of them were signed, it basically had like what, a couple thousand listeners, or a couple thousand listens. Sorry, not even listeners. So it's not a rare thing to get more well known names kind of involved with the lesser ones here, which is cool. I mean, hell, Paper Thin for Recovering Spencer Scott was I think he put out a split EP with Georgia Mack from Camp Cope, and Camp Cope they've recently broken up. Announced that they're going to break up, but they were pretty big in the Australian emo scene.
Right. Yeah, like Morgues even has like music videos at this point, and for a band with like such a small output, like getting music videos and stuff off the ground is pretty big.
Indeed.
Like
there's not really much to talk about with 3 singles, is there?
There's not a lot of room to be like, are you just a one-hit duo? Can you do more? And 3 tracks in, and here we are. I don't know if I have personally seen them like really branch out and do more beyond kind of like the basic sound they have. I would like to see more, but what they have is not bad.
One of the playlists that they discovered on is a playlist called "The Cool Barista with Aux Privilege, Safe for Work," and it's a picture of Marge Simpson tied off her fucking ass. And they've edited it to have the Starbucks apron on, and she's holding one of the blenders, pouring in a fucking frappuccino.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's beautiful. The playlist is kind of like as you would expect here. It was Paramore, Avril Lavigne, and stuff. Fleetwood Mac, Billie Eilish. So it's kind of funny that Morgues is just randomly on there.
Yeah.
All it takes is just discovering that one song that hits it for you.
And it's just 2006 as well.
Yeah.
There's Muse on there as well, Feeling Good from Original Symmetry. What a play.
That's a good song, but that's not the vibe of the rest of those.
No, it's not.
Anyway, good singles.
Yeah.
Hope we get an EP or something soon.
No real
Yeah.
favorites or least favorites, but they are fine.
Yeah, favorites is animalistic. Least favorites probably it's probably 2006 to be honest. I'll piss everyone off.
Favorites for me is Outer Space. No real least favorite.
There was somebody that there was somebody that had a quote on the Outer Space one that was talking about how much they love Morgues. So it seems that they're getting attention more often. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
and
good.
that person and me are the only two people that seem to have bought this single from Bandcamp. Shout out to Tommy Faith.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
On you,
Tommy
Tom.
Faith.
Anyway, let's go on to Paper Thin, which is my
Yeah, so
favorite of these three.
Yeah, I figured it would be. So Paper Thin, Novacrostians, emo, kind of like near folk punk to be honest, but mostly just emo. Spencer's a nice dude. I think he runs Hamilton Hotels gigs and stuff, like he does the bookings and stuff for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
I like me some queer emo shit. That's fun.
Yeah.
This album or EP, sorry, released since like 2016 or something, I guess, that had been around for a while. Last single was only on Bandcamp with Malibu in 2020.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I have the CD for Paper Thin's debut EP somewhere here, and I have the vinyl for the second EP.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah,
nice.
Because I found that at Hiss and Crackle, which is a Newcastle record store, and they sell it for $10.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah. We had an interesting discussion over about the self-titled EP. Because you do not like Japan Song.
Yeah, so I like a lot of Paper Thin's work actually. It hits the right tone and stuff like that, and I don't hate Japan Song as a song, but its lyricism is what I'd probably call, and I hate using these terms because you can be inspired by a lot of things, but if someone is going to tell me that something is cultural appropriation, this is the one where I'd go like, I don't think it is, but I don't have any reason why I could defend it.
Yeah.
It feels like, you remember that when you had to go at Ween's Buenos Amigos or whatever it was called, I can't remember.
Buenos Tardes Amigos.
Yeah, Tardes Amigos. Thank you. And you said it's like, oh, that's just finding whatever you could in the Spanish language and stuff like that. Which, I'm probably a bit more fair of this. I feel like this one is that Japan Song or anything like that. There's not really much reason for this to be Japan Song. This is just randomly going like, oh, Tokyo, Kyoto, Gojo, Totoro, and it's like, is it a fun, stupid song? Kind of, but it's like, just out of this EP and everything, it just doesn't fit. It's just, I hate to say it, but it's just like the one song where I go like, okay, this might be a skip.
That's fair. Like between like songs that have more thoughtful lyrics, like 16 Months or Haircut, it does stand out as like a different thing.
Yeah, like 16 Months and Haircut feel like it is. Even if Spencer Scott's the limitations as a lyricist does show on this EP, it's a debut EP they were going to. They still feel like very personal lyrics and stories that are at least engaging and interesting.
Like this is very much seems like a garage band trying to make it with their first EP recording, like like kind of like what I said about Radiohead with Pablo Honey, but in a better light.
But as much as I don't like Japan Song, I would also argue that Malibu is probably down there with my least favorite of their songs.
Oh, I don't even remember what Malibu sounds like. I don't.
It's just that single they put out. I got a free download of it because I bought the shirt off their Bandcamp. It's just so generic of a song compared to like the reason why I like some of these songs is that at least it stands out with just kind of how some of them sound very unorganized in a good way. Yeah. And like it just kind of drifts off and does something else, but it doesn't naturally. Whilst Malibu just feels really restricted of a song and does nothing. It's like, all right, I guess that was just 3.5 minutes.
And that was their attempt at doing something with COVID happening too.
Yeah.
So the remote recording stuff doesn't always work out as much as it does for others. But their second EP I thought was more polished and more, like a step up from where they were before, for sure.
Yes, and if I'm correct, it's not just Spencer singing on that one. I think it's the two vocals on that, isn't it?
I believe so.
Even out of Spencer's just that good of a vocalist now.
Grace Turner on When You Call.
Hmm.
There's not lyrics on the Bandcamp version of this though, but yeah, I just remember being like, yeah, like I can see like the evolution over the course of like a year, and I would love to see 4, 5, 6 years later now, like what would a proper release from them be like?
And just kind of oddly enough, as noticed, they're kind of gone a bit silent since the we've got the single, we had the shirt that got released, I guess, but outside of that, we haven't really had much out of them. They still seem to be signed to Lost Boy Records. I'm just looking at their site, Lost Boy Records site, but maybe Lost Boy isn't as running as it used to be. I remember it was the last time that they've released anything. Apparently, a pre-order here of something. I don't know when that got released.
So I wanted to cover the Woodjiver session because like there isn't much else that's going on with them right now, and like it's a small little live couple tracks that's like a charity thing for one of their friends to help battle cancer.
Yeah, and then looking at their live shows, it's really just Spencer doing the solo stuff.
Maybe that's what it's come to. Is just that Spencer just continuing the dream. Everyone else is not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to speculate on here, especially since they'll probably notice that this episode has come out and go to me and say, "Why the fuck are you speculating?" Which is
that's fair.
Very fair.
I don't mean to upset anybody in the Awesome Music Discord, which I actually still also in, but I would really like to see.
I can say whatever I want. I'm not in them. Fuck all these bands. I'm kidding.
It's trust me, there's some people that should be pissed off in some Discords. So don't be afraid to go full on.
But like for songs that are as nicely written as Haircut, I'm really intrigued by like the lyricism and like the singing style. Like I'm reminded, of course, of like Harley Cosgrove and Sly Withers and all that. Yeah. But the personableness, the topics that are covered. There's something that's really interesting here that I hope doesn't die on the vine.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, Haircut's probably my favorite out of all the Paper Thin songs because it's just I like the outro. I like how the guitars go into there, and to be honest, or just the rhythms, I guess, on there, and just like this kind of story, which kind of it has a bit of comic tone at the end of it, but it's basically like comparing like this relationship and his haircut.
Yeah.
Which is not one of those stories where you go like, oh, that's a really great metaphor, because there's not really too much metaphors actually happening in there. It's just like talking about like kind of like parts of his life and what he looks like and stuff like that. And it's even got a bit of positivity about himself in there as well, which is the emo kid in me is never against the positivity. But most of the songs on a debut EP, mostly you're just kind of like him just talking about himself, and it's at least done it in a way there's no real feel sorry for me kind of thing. It's just like a kind of like, oh cool, this is what I'm doing, and he's writing songs and it seems personal and the music kind of goes well with it. And it's like, yeah, is it so personal that it's depressing? No, not really. It's not even really close. But
it's a little sad sometimes, maybe, but
it's interesting enough to go along to, which you see a lot of people try to put out very personal songs they'll claim to be, and then they're just very simple songs like "She Broke My Heart." There we go. That's our reference to that tricks. I think I've got that. I think I've got that sample on here somewhere, but I can't remember which one it fucking is.
But I mean, like State of Your Life
Mate. I kind of liked it.
But like State of Your Life Mate is a good example of like what they're going for. Like I'm finding it hard to find a way to say I'm not okay in the most casual way possible. And how many drives are on the block are too many drives around the block to get me out of my head, or get me out of my own room. Like, it's, it's tackling personal topics that are like, yes, I'm upset, or I'm feeling bad in a way, I'm homesick, I'm all that, but it's not overly sad, depressing. It's not overly this, overly that. It's just kind of an acknowledgement, kind of just a statement of facts. I kind of like it for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's your cue.
For the.
I kind of liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of liked it.
I liked it.
Ugh.
I think they mature the sound a bit more on the second EP, and I think it's better. Like, Malleable feels like when it's a bit too matured, and then their second EP, I already forgotten what it's called. Living with Being Without.
Yeah.
There's some nice kind of cruising moments on When You Call. I don't think the Wood Driver sessions really brings too much difference. So if you haven't listened to it, there's not really too much you're missing out on. I think Union Street's the only different song on there. I can't remember if that's a cover of a new song there.
I thought it was a cover. I couldn't really find what it would have been a cover of, but I kind of liked that one.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the sample again. You're overdoing it now.
that was not an attempt to get you to play it again. That was me genuinely saying it. But yeah, like, Malleable is a thing that was created at a difficult time for everybody, but that's fine. I think the other work that they've done is nice. It's cool. I like it quite a bit. But if this is all Paper Thin is, at least there's songs like Haircut. I hope there is more, but Haircut, I think, is a little gem that we can keep in our back pocket.
Yeah. No, basically, Haircut's like just a really good song. I wouldn't call it one of the greatest songs of all time or anything like that, but when you go into say, like, hey, here's a really underground band or something I think you should listen to, and you play a song like Haircut, you'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll listen to the rest of them. And that's like, there's a lot of bands that don't have a song like that, so it's...
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that's the Oz Music wrap-up. That's basically everyone who's put out a song that's interesting that wasn't Masatui.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's right. Masatui is the OG Oz Music Discord group.
Indeed.
Yeah, they're not really an
for
Oz
us.
Music Discord group. That was something that was just found on there.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. I thought the guy was on there. What's his name?
He is on there, but he's not active.
Ah, got it. Yeah.
It's not that you have to be though. So much like you can go outside these days.
Yeah.
Favorites, of
Anyway.
course. Haircut. I think State of Your Life makes a nice little intro into 16 months. I also like London and Union Street. My least favorites. I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of When You Call and Malleables, whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my least favorite is Malleable. Like, I don't like Japan's song, but I think I like what it's doing more than Malleable. Favorites out of all this is definitely Haircut and 16 Months.
Favorites, Haircut, no least favorites really. It's just all kind of mid.
Well,
And with that, we have finally wrapped up all of the albums and EPs and stuff of episode 1.
22. 122.
Indeed.
I meant episode 1 of 2023, but...
it was a 1 of 2020.
Yeah.
All right, so let's rank these.
I was gonna say I'll start with the rankings here, and I reckon I'll do the hot take here. I would probably, if I'm going to have to be realistic out of all of this and all that, sorry Hamish, Cameron X still does have to go at the bottom of all this. Then I'm probably going to put Pablo Honey. Then I'm going to put Morgues. Then I'm going to put Paper Thin. And I'm currently really tossing it up in the air because I appreciate one. And I've got to ask, are we ranking it as an album or are we ranking it as a soundtrack?
Either one.
Yeah.
If I rank it as an album, Undertale is second. If I rank it as it is as a soundtrack and comparing everything else about it, then it's number 1.
I guess rank it as an album then. Rank it as the thing that it is.
Yeah.
Undertale is number 2. Showbiz is number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
I
not
will
the
next.
strongest. It's not the strongest number 1. I'll put that out there. But
Mhm.
I do like Showbiz. It's probably the 4th best Muse album, just behind Resistance.
I'm not gonna go into the EPs and all that this time around individually. I will have that breakdown for myself, but I don't really feel like doing it at the moment. That being said, I will put Pablo Honey at the bottom. I would rather listen to Cameron X again than Pablo Honey. The Cameron X will be on top of that. On top of that, we'll do Morgues. Then I will do Showbiz. Then Paper Thin's discography. And then Undertale at the top.
I'm gonna go Paper Thin, Muse, Cameron X, Pablo Honey, the one that escapes Ritz's other pick that
Morgues.
escapes me, Morgues, and then Undertale.
Near total victory for Undertale. That's
Yes.
almost to be expected, I feel like.
Yeah, I felt like I was cheating when I picked Undertale. I'm gonna be honest.
It's one. I feel like it's one that we had to cover though. So thank you for picking it.
No problem. I definitely felt like we had to cover it too.
Which leads us to what are we doing next week, everybody?
You want to start off first, Dominic?
Yeah.
I'd like to go last.
Sure.
All right.
I am going to cover a band that we discovered late last year on the what's it called? The Never Erased compilation, which had new songs by Weekend Run Club and other people. I want to cover the discography of Dog Park Dissidents, which encompasses a few EPs. Sexual and Violent EP, the High Risk Homosexual Behavior EP, which has their cover of Toxic by Britney Spears, I think on streaming, but on Bandcamp it's its own cover by itself. And of course the ACAP for Cutie EP, and of course in December they released a new single called Gift Wrap. Ritz, this will count for your cycle, of course.
Yep.
So that's another nod to you. I'm going to attempt to adopt the December to November thing myself. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Fair enough.
We're going to cover the Gay Dog Band, everybody.
Hell yeah.
Now, I was debating if I picked 1 or 2, but I feel like we're just going to go ham into 2023 since there was a lot of the last month and stuff that we had to cover. But I am still going to pick the artist that I said I was going to pick. So we're going to be doing 2. And the first one is obviously Crowded House's Woodface. I told you two that I would be picking that album, and I'm sticking to it this time instead of being the, actually, I wanted to do this as well. But actually, I do want to do this as well. So we're doing both here. And got released recently. I think there was absolutely no surprise that I was going to pick this at some point. So let's get it out of the way so that it's in the cycle for the year for all of us. It is, of course, the new Paranor record, After the Magic.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And
you weren't going to pick it.
I
was going to pick it at some point.
Yeah, fuck you.
I am going to start my journey into a weird sort of punk subgenre that we sort of talked about initially in, I believe, 2020 with Liquids, and that is something called egg punk. Now, egg punk is this weird, fucked up love child between 80s new wave and DIY punk, and it's glorious. And to start with that, we're going to be doing a LP, an EP, and a full album, one of which will be a repeat of something we've already covered.
What do you mean? So an LP and an EP and a full album? What's the difference?
The LP is 17 minutes, the EP is 5 minutes, and the full album is about an hour.
Is it all from the same band?
No.
Fuck, I had to search up many things.
So, I'm going to be doing Ooze self-titled 7-inch. I'm going to be doing The Coneheads LP1. And I'm going to be doing an album from 2020 that just Domino and I covered, Money Money 2020 Part 2, We Told You So, by The Network.
Fair enough. That was eventually going to come down the line for me, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to put links to all that because I can't be fuck searching all that.
Oh, of course. It's gonna be just YouTube shit because a lot of it is just like YouTube bootlegs because that's where this genre lives.
Interesting. And it's not even like existent outside of that.
It's like it's so like DIY and like deep cuts that like outside of like Bandcamp they're not on streaming.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I love me some DIY.
Outside of the network, of course.
Technically, this is our second repeat because I did ask us to cover that EP again, the Migration Annex EP, but yes.
Yes. Understandable. Yeah. Have a nice day.
Well, to repeat all of this, we're doing Crowded House's Woodface, Paranormal's After the Magic, Ooze's self-titled EP, I guess it would be like a 7-inch, the Coneheads LP1, and once again, the network's Money Money 2020 Part 2, We Told You So. That's from Trix, and then I am covering the discography of Dog Park Dissidents, which is the Sexual and Violent EP, the High Risk Homosexual Behavior EP, the ACAB for Cutie EP, and the new single Gift Wrap. That'll do it for us. My name is Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI, still on Twitter. YouTube at Dominic Chakotay. What was that?
How is Twitter still a thing?
It's gonna collapse in on itself or something, I'm sure, eventually, but for now it's still a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I mean, there's still OnlyFans creators advertising themselves on there. If you're not on Twitter just for the porn, I don't know why you're on there.
I'm on Twitter to post photos of food, my cat, and dumb jokes.
It's why people are on Tumblr.
Yeah, Tumblr like tanked once they banned porn.
Yeah, Twitter and Tumblr are both on very similar kind of projections there, where both of them had some of the most toxic communities that no one wanted to be a part of, but some of the best porn.
Also, one of the things that I think you're forgetting is that a lot of Tumblr migrated to Twitter when.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Indeed.
Anyway, I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on my website, ritalin4kids.github.io. I also have a YouTube channel. I also have a Bandcamp where I've been posting a bunch of those mixtapes I made with those toys that I've gotten. So go listen to it before Dominic chooses it.
I've been Trix. You can catch me on Twitter while it's still sinking into the sea. I also have a bunch of other shit that'll be in the description. My bot, somewhat exists. I don't know. It's complicated. What the fuck, Elon?
Twitter API, I'm sure he'll reverse course on that eventually.
I don't know. The dude's money obsessed. Pretty soon he's going to be like charging us a nickel to shoot out a tweet.
Hell yeah. Oh no, I've ran out of treat credits for the day.
Let me go buy some with Bitcoin.
Well, that's going to do it for us, everybody. Have a great one.
Indeed.
Bye-bye.